Hello everybody, welcome back. We are still at the GAMA Trade Show 2018 in Reno. I am here with Pat.
Yes.
From Project Raygun. This is a division of USAopoly, is that correct?
That's correct.
And we're going to be taking a look at a Samurai Jack board game called Back to the Past. Looks really cool. These minis especially, everybody's sort of oohing and aahing around here at the miniatures. So tell me all about it.
Yeah, so this is a signature original gameplay that we've developed. You know, obviously we've had our licensing brand with USAopoly and done a lot of that work. With Project Raygun, we're moving more into the signature original game space, following up The Thing, Infection at Outpost 31. So in the Samurai Jack game, what we have is a sort of retelling of the 5th season of the series, where players are aiding Jack along his quest to ultimately fight and defeat Aku so that he can go back to the past.
Okay.
In order to do that, Jack will be moving along this path of hex tiles that you see out on the table. And the players have to kind of be with him to help him keep his sanity up as Aku throws various threats at him throughout the game.
Okay.
So players are going to make choices using these movement cards, and each player has a deck of these, one of each color of tile that's on the board. And the way that works is a player may play their orange card, and once they've played it, they don't get it back until they either play all of their cards or move to their color space. So you've got some really interesting decision making about which tiles you want to go to in which order. If you land on tiles with other players, you don't get as many benefits as if you are there alone. If Aku lands on your tile, you get some penalties. And if you go where Jack is and help him out, you can earn some benefits.
Got it.
All of those benefits kind of come in the form of these cards. And we've got a set collection mechanic here. So as players collect up these different cards, you see there's some icons of a paw and an axe. When they get to the villain at the end of the path, they can trade in those sets to help fight the villain and earn reward points. Players play through several paths, fighting different villains before they finally reach Aku and have the final battle. Okay,
okay. So is this a cooperative game?
It is not. So one player will earn the most points for doing the most to help Jack and ultimately win the game. But if the players don't at least somewhat work together in a semi-co-op way to aid Jack and be present with him on his quest, then his madness on this meter will max out and all the players will lose.
I see. I see. Okay, so it's possible for everyone to lose, but if there is a winner, there is one winner.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So, since as I said at the beginning of the interview here, these minis are fantastic. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about those?
Yeah, so we of course have Jack and Aku, which are the non-player figures that will move using a movement deck along the path. And then you have some of the other allies that have helped Jack throughout the season. We tried to pick some character favorites and some fan favorites to include in the game.
Those would be the players' characters at that point.
Yes, correct. Right. So these two are the sort of NPCs, and then the other 5 are the options for the players. And all of them come pre-painted in the set. So for fans of the show who just want to get this to the table straight out of the box, this is what they're ultimately going to look like when you purchase the game.
Very nice, very nice. So do the players have a hand of movement cards?
Yeah, so this deck, there's a deck for Aku and Jack, and so you see their card back there, and then each player has a character-specific hand that has one of each color.
So you've got your own full set as you are playing them, as you said. Once I play a color, until I get there, I don't get them back unless I run out of cards.
Correct.
Or I get there.
Yep.
Got it. Got it. Very nice. And there's a little aid right on the board there as well. Very bright, very cool looking game. And as you said, it matches the theme very well. How many players can this play up to?
So this is 2 to 5 players and roughly 45 minutes to play a complete game.
Okay, and if you're playing 5, then you are using all of the characters there.
Correct.
Very nice. When is it going to be available?
Targeted August of this year, so likely around Gen Con.
Right.
Price point is around 35 MSRP.
35, very cool. So if you're a big Samurai Jack fan, or just like the idea of this pseudo-cooperative help but don't help too much idea, then this is one to keep an eye out for. And I know you've got one more thing you're going to be showing us.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And so now we've got something on the table that's a little bit bigger than the Samurai Jack game, just a hair really. This is called Court of the Dead, and it's a big miniatures game. And it looks nice and dark and moody, and I love it. Tell me everything about it.
Sure. So this is a prototype of our new game. As you said, it's a Dudes on a Map miniatures game, right? This is a collaboration with Sideshow Collectibles, known for their super detailed, accurate figurines that are collectible, everything up from full scale down to 6 scale high-end collectibles.
Okay.
They've created their own original IP in the Court of the Dead, and basically what we have here is a game that's telling the introductory story for this universe.
Okay.
Which I will give you the very brief version of. So in this particular universe, you have heaven and hell in this endless war, and they're not good and evil. They're just at war with each other endlessly, and they've created death as a means of siphoning our mortal realm soul energy to fuel their war.
Okay.
Death realizes he doesn't want to have this role anymore of just taking our energy and feeding it into their war. So he, in secret, is trying to build up the underworld to be strong enough to overthrow both heaven and hell. So the players come in as recently dead individuals who are part of this cast of characters in the underworld contributing to this goal. So we've got a semi-co-op feel here where players are working politics and their own ulterior motives to stand out in Death's Court of the Dead, while also managing some external threats from both heaven and hell and this disease force called the Dread Script, which is attracted to power in the underworld and can corrupt the mourners, who are the people who live in the underworld, hence the subtitle Mourner's Call in this game. The game is going to come with this beautiful artwork on the board and on the box that you see. We have 48 of these smaller miniatures, so there's 6 unique sculpts. You'll get 8 of each, and then 2 of the larger premium figures, one being Death, and then the Jester character, Malvestros, being the other one, who's sort of central to the game, as well as several decks of cards and some chip and resource tokens as well.
So this is obviously at this point a prototype. These are prototype pieces. Is the artwork final?
Yeah, the artwork you're looking at is the final artwork for the game board and for the box, as well as the player boards. So this will be what the final figures look like, although these are, of course, our own 3D printed models, and the final ones will be more mass-produced. But the same level of detail that was really important to us with this campaign because of who our partner is in Sideshow. We really wanted to highlight this artwork that they've provided and the 3D sculpting, and have it be as detailed as possible. Yeah,
and they're very detailed, even for, as you said, 3D printed ones. The level of detail is quite nice. So let's go ahead and why don't you run me through what a typical turn might look like without too much of the detail, because I wouldn't know what's going on, but just so I have a general idea of the flow of the game.
Sure. So the game plays over a series of rounds until all of these unity tokens are collected. And so these sort of symbolize the collective progress towards being strong enough to fight heaven and hell.
Okay.
So that's our in-game timer, is collecting these points. Typically a game will be 3 rounds. Depending on the pace that the players take in going after that objective. Within each round, you have some sort of collective actions that all the players do together, which include bringing some of this ethereal energy into the underworld and resolving some of the threats. And then you have an action phase where players are taking their turns.
Okay.
On that action phase, each player takes an action in turn around the table, and you go around and around until all players pass.
Got it.
The actions you take include playing some of the court cards, which are these extra large cards here.
Okay, and can I spread some of these out here so we can take a look at some of those?
And what you'll see on these is that each of these cards has 2 action choices. So there's a card draft each round, where players end up with a hand of these that they're going to use if they choose to in the round as their actions. And then when they play the card, they can still choose which of the 2 actions they want to complete, depending on what is most advantageous to them on their turn.
Okay.
Other actions you have include moving your figures around the board, recruiting new figures from the supply, as well as resolving some round-specific objectives in the Wallows deck. So each player is going to have like a mini objective that they can complete for some bonuses.
Okay.
And those sometimes involve fighting monsters that come out of the Wallows, the surrounding wilds of the city, or going on quests for artifacts and things to give you bonuses and sort of build up your engine as you go. There's also these mourner cards that represent some of the key characters from the story that you can get, and these you keep in front of you for the duration of the game, and they give you bonuses that you can exploit as well.
I see. I see.
The 2 main sort of objectives with the map board are to have the most figures in a particular location at the end of the round, and you'll see each location has a unique bonus for having the most figures there. So, you know, if I have the most figures in the Hextathanium at the end of the round, I'll get a bonus, which will give me an extra figure.
So a little bit of an area control subsystem as well.
And then related to that, these 6 figures represent 6 of the guilds of the underworld. Having the most figures of a guild also is worth a bonus, no matter where they are in play. So we have a tracker at the bottom of the board that helps players know, you know, where they're doing in terms of where they stand in terms of having the most figures of a particular type. So that can direct some strategy as well. And then there's some ulterior motive cards that score points for you as your own hidden objective at the end of the game. So sometimes those are related to collecting the figures, controlling areas of the map, getting more of these cards and different strategies that you might take throughout the play. So each time you play, you have a very different strategy that you can try to explore.
Very cool. Now, one last thing I want to talk about. I'm seeing some cool looking dice right there. We haven't touched on dice yet. I'd like to chuck some dice. How do those come into play?
Yeah, so the dice are part of the mechanic that brings the Etheria into the game at the beginning of the round.
Okay.
So it determines how much of this energy we have that filters in and ultimately leads to an I cut you choose mechanic. So players are divvying up that energy, but can altruistically choose to pass, gain some influence on their own player board, and leave some energy to filter to heaven and hell to keep them busy, which is good for the collective. So there's some interesting choices you can make to sort of do the right thing for the greater good. Often those choices are going to earn you influence and unity, which are worth points at the end of the game. Or there's often the desire to take the selfish choice and keep as much of that for yourself as you can. These dice are also used when Rakers, who are the monsters that come from the wild, enter the game to battle them. So you may have a particular quest where you've been tasked by death to go to a location and fight off one of these monsters, and you're going to chuck some dice and do that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. There are quite a few mechanisms here at play. It sounds like a lot of, you know, moving gears, which is very exciting. So how do we get our hands on this?
Yeah, a great question. So this is going to be our first Kickstarter campaign as a company. We built a great relationship with James Hudson from Druid City Games, who's obviously done some very successful Kickstarters, with The Grim Forest being the most recent and Sorcerer's City being live now. And he's guiding us through the process and working with us on that. And this will be late April. We'll be on Kickstarter.
Okay.
And part of the reason we chose Kickstarter and to go that route as a new direction is, as you can see, the artwork here is fantastic, and we wanted to do justice to a game like this and to really be able to bring premium components, premium cards, upgraded player boards, some extra figures perhaps, and some really exciting stretch goals with maybe some metal components and things that we felt a Kickstarter campaign can help us reach.
Sure, and that makes sense. That does. Do you have any idea at this point, since you're still some time away from the Kickstarter, what you're looking at as far as pledge levels for this? Yeah,
we want to keep it simple. So you're not going to see a lot of tiers to the pledge levels of, if you pay this much, you get these things, and if you pay more, you can get a couple more things. Really, you're going to see that standard dollar backer level. You know, if you want to follow the campaign, a backer level to get the game with every stretch goal we can hit, and then a retailer pledge. We might have a limited special edition type of thing with some painted figures or stuff. We're still exploring some options there. MSRP price point for that, I want the whole game and all the stretch goals, is one thing we're still working out because of the stretch goals we'd like to include. We're trying to get the price as reasonable and as approachable as we can, while still including those components that are really going to get fans excited. Sure.
Yeah. Well, very cool. It looks like a lot of game, lots of mechanisms, as I said. Court of the Dead, very neat. Thanks for coming by and showing it to us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Good talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And keep an eye out, everybody, for this one, for the Samurai Jack game as well, and for our other videos featuring a whole swath of different and cool-looking games. We'll see you on the next one.